Welcome to the Space and Rocket Center, showplace of America's space program and home of U.S. Space Camp.
Where we do real astronaut conditioning and see the space program in the making. We live in the habitat. It's just like the real space station. And see what it's like on board an orbiter in the Space Dome Theater. The training center is where the simulators are and the fun begins.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Apollo astronauts anticipated difficulty walking on the moon. Since the moon is only 1/6 the size of the Earth, they trained on a device that offset 5/6 of their weight, the microgravity training chair. During extravehicular activities, astronauts are forced to work in the frictionless environment of space. Gemini astronauts train for spacewalks in the 5 Degrees of Freedom training simulator.
What's your name and where are you from?
Jennifer Grossing, Newmarket, Alabama.
And can you tell me a little bit about the 5 Degrees of Freedom that you were on this week?
It was fun. I got to, you pushed me with pitch and roll and stuff, and y'all.
Can you tell me a little bit about the swimming pool this week?
I jumped off the diving board and swam into the boat, and I swam to the bird cage and got in.
Okay, thank you. What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Wendy Shikitani, and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii.
And you went to the swimming pool this week. Can you tell me some activities you did?
Well, first we had to jump off the diving board, feet first, and get into a raft and swim over to a bird cage. And then we got in, and we have to wait for the camera, and then we got out and swam back.
Thanks, Wendy. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Kathleen Chong, and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii.
And can you tell me a little bit about the centrifuge? What was it used for and what happened in there?
You go around and around 35 miles per hour, and
Did you get dizzy?
yes,
Okay, can you tell me about the 5DF? 5 Degrees of Freedom?
the 5 degrees of freedom is pitch, roll, yaw, side to side, up and down, front to back.
Mercury astronauts had to be prepared to stabilize their spacecraft should it begin to tumble out of control. To rehearse these procedures, they used a device similar to the multi-axis trainer. Survival in space would not be possible without the support of pressurized suits. Constructed from soft, durable fibers, they allow us to work freely while protecting us from the dangers of space.
What's your name and where are you from?
Heather Church. I'm from Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Okay, can you tell me about what you did this week when you built rockets?
Well, we put we have two stages or three stages. We have stages, and we put things like our parachute and our we put our parachutes and we put some stuff in it to make it sure the engine won't burn the parachute when it flies out, and we put.
Can you tell me a little bit about the swimming pool this week?
We went in the bird cage, and we went through hoops underwater, and we had to build a cube.
Okay, thank you, Heather. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Tim Dubaska. I'm from Quinnipiac, Michigan.
Can you tell me a little bit about the swimming pool this week?
We had to do a bird cage, and we had to build like a IT structure underwater. And we had to do an airlock thing where we had to swim through hula hoops.
Thank you, Tim. What's your name and where are you from?
Justin, I'm from Hawaii.
Can you tell me about the centrifuge that you rode this week?
Yes, it puts 3 G's against your body, it goes 35 miles per hour.
Placing a manned space station in orbit has become a goal of both NASA and the American public. Just as engineers must design an orbiting structure, so must our trainees.
Space structure is TB1 and it stands for Telegram Round 1. The purpose is to have people live permanently in space. It will cost $10 billion. It will go up in the summer of 1992. After 2.5 years, it will then come down for repairs and go back up. They will be supported with food, water, and oxygen by oncoming ships and shuttles. And everybody will be able to visit the space structure.
Our space structure is made out of iron and titanium. We will put our space structure in orbit with rocket boosters. We will dump our waste by dumping it into space. We have escape pods located on each corner and section if there is an emergency. What is important for our space structure is the habitat. The shape of the castle is what makes our space structure important or unique. Thank you.
Early astronauts, upon returning to Earth, splashed down into the ocean. Then they jumped from their capsule into a rescue raft and paddled to a basket suspended from a helicopter.
What's your name and where are you from?
Jason Bennett, Helena, Alabama.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you did at the swimming pool this week?
Well, there was a diving board. We had to jump off it and swim to a raft, get up on the raft, swim from the raft over to a bird cage, and get in the cage, and we were rescued.
Great job. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Jason Fry and I'm from Lafayette, Indiana.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Manned Maneuvering Unit, the MMU?
Well, it does like the 5 degrees of freedom, and you steer yourself and you can go upside down and stuff. It's really fun.
Thank you. What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Ryan Grant. I'm from Montgomery, Alabama.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you did in the swimming pool this week?
What we did in the swimming pool was we had to jump off a diving board and go to a raft and get in the bird cage, which simulates when a capsule comes down from orbit and the helicopter picks it out of the cage.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Ryan and I'm from Hawaii.
This week you went to the swimming pool to do astronaut activities. Can you tell me a little bit about what you did?
Yeah, I was we were doing this thing that you jumped off the diving board and you went into the water. You had to swim to the raft and then go to the bird cage. Then they twist you around and you swim to shore.
We'll go for main engine start. 7, 6. We have main engine start. 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space.
The mission control team and shuttle crew have made final preparations and are ready for launch. Teamwork is vital. Everyone must perform his task with clock-like precision.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Rocket Park, the most complete rocket display on Earth. Many of the items now on display were designed and built here in Huntsville. Marshall Space Flight Center developed the rockets that launched America's space program. Marshall continues to support our efforts through research and development, as well as providing facilities for training and flight control.
I would like to thank you for coming to Space Camp this week, and particularly I would like to express my appreciation to the parents who have permitted their sons and daughters to attend this special program. You know, Space Camp is really set up to encourage young men and women to excel in science and math. We use the space program as a focal point. We believe the space program is important to this nation, and certainly in the future it will be. And if we can teach you the importance of having a good foundation in science and math by using the space program, then we feel we've accomplished our objective. To the future, I say to you, young men and women who will be our scientists, our astronauts, and our pilots in the 21st century, I wish you well, and I know you will be great achievers, and I know you will make us proud. And I'm looking forward to the day when one of you space campers plant the U.S. flag on the surface of Mars.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Patterson, and I had the pleasure of working with the Teledyne Brown team this week. I'd like to introduce them to you. To start off with, Catherine Chong from Aiea, Hawaii. Wendy Shigatani from Honolulu, Hawaii. Jennifer Grossi from Newmarket, Alabama. Heather Church from Los Alamos, New Mexico. Jason Fry from Lafayette, Indiana. Jay Bennett from Helena, Alabama. Justin Boyer from Kanahohi, Hawaii. Ryan Gray from Montgomery, Alabama. Tim Dubovsky from Quinnipiac, Michigan. And Ryan Fujita from Honolulu, Hawaii. Thanks, Teledyne Brown.
Let's give a very warm welcome for Dr. Byron Lichtenberg.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. It's really good to be here to welcome a lot of our Space Camp graduates today. I think this is a really neat place, and as I look around, I wish NASA had such good training facilities, believe me. It's really wonderful here. I've been associated with the Space and Rocket Center through a variety of ways over about 5 or 6 years. In fact, both of my daughters have gone through space camps and space academies, so I have an idea of what you young campers have gone through. Also this week, running down by the Aviation Challenge, I came across a lot of your rockets, so I see that you've been very successful in launching your rockets this week as well. What I wanted to do for a few minutes, though, is to give you a little bit more insight into the space program, tell you a little bit about what I'll be doing on my next mission, and try and get you excited about things that are happening in space. When I was the age of the campers here, there was nobody that I could look to that had ever been in space because nobody had gone there. I got my inspiration from reading science fiction books, looking at the movies like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, but it was still a dream in somebody's eye. Now, a lot of you, space campers and parents, have the opportunity to meet and talk with and hear firsthand from people that have been in space to tell you what it's like. And I'd like to share just a touch of that with you for a few minutes. But first, I wanted to clarify something about my job as a payload specialist. I'm sure the space campers probably know, but not all of you adults know, that I am not a NASA astronaut. I was not chosen by NASA. Rather, I was selected by the scientists that had experiments on these particular missions. Space Lab 1, which I flew about 8 years ago, and my next mission, Atlas 1, an upper atmospheric mission coming up next year. So I'm responsible to the scientists. They're my bosses. I do their work for them in orbit. We do have pilots and mission specialists that fly the space shuttle and take care of the orbiter and the space lab, and they also help us do our science, but I have a little bit different chain of responsibility to do the science. And while we're talking about science, I won't say anything that you'll need a PhD to understand, but I do want to say that we're doing some really neat things looking down at our Earth. I'm sure you're all aware and you've heard about things like the ozone hole, the greenhouse effect, the carbon dioxide layer, all the things that's happening, the chlorofluorocarbons that we've been talking about. Well, the mission that I'm on, excuse me, in about a year, we'll be starting to look and map and measure a lot of these different things, constituents in the atmosphere, so that we can get a handle on what's happening to our Earth down here. So instead of just taking money and sending it out in exhaust plumes, we're actually using the space shuttle, the space lab, and scientists to further our knowledge about how our Earth acts and interacts. One of the things that I realized when I was on orbit for 10 days, well, first of all, I realized the first 3 days were kind of wiped out because you probably all heard about space motion sickness. Well, I was studying it through the inner ear, and I got it big time. So I was, I guess, a victim of my own studies for a while, but it goes away in about 3 or 4 days, and then you can look out the windows and really enjoy the view. And what you see when you look out is just one Earth. You don't see the different cultures, you don't see the different borders, the boundaries, the language barriers. You look down and you realize that we circle the Earth in the space shuttle about once every 90 minutes. And while you do that, you've gone around the entire Earth and you've seen the whole thing. And you realize how small our Earth really is. It may seem very big to you sitting here today, but it's not that big. We all live here, over 5 billion people. And we look down and we see how beautiful the Earth is, but it's also very fragile. Our atmosphere is just a thin onion skin, if the Earth were the size of a baseball or a basketball. So it's very, very thin, very, very fragile. And a lot of the experiments and missions that NASA is doing in the future years is going to be looking towards the study of the Earth, study of the environment, and our mission of Atlas I will be the beginnings of those types of studies. So what the space campers are learning here today is directly going to apply in the future because they are going to be knowledgeable and involved with what's happening. There's lots of other opportunities here at the Space and Rocket Center. There's a Level 1 and Level 2 space academies. You probably have heard about the Adult Space Camp, which also is really exciting. It's a great way to learn about what's happening in space, what NASA's doing, what capabilities exist, and where we're going to go in the future. So I'd like to stop now and say that if you do come to the talk later, I'll be showing a movie and some slides and giving you a little more detail about what I said. But I would like to commend and congratulate all of our space campers today. I'm sure you've had a fun week. You've made some new friends for life. You've made some great bonds. You've hopefully had a taste of what it's like to work in the space field. And even though you might not want to be an astronaut, you might want to be an engineer, or you might want to be somebody that builds the rocket ships or works at the launch pad or works in mission control. There are plenty of things to be done in the program. We're going to have a space station. We're going back to the Moon and Mars. We're going to be doing some really exciting things, and the space campers of today are the space achievers of tomorrow. So congratulations to all of you. Thanks, and good luck, and have a nice day. Thank you.
We're going to start with the team awards. The first award we're going to give away is called the Best Large Space Structure. Now this week, each of the 27 teams had to build a space structure. They used these, I guess you can call them like Lincoln logs, but they're called ramagons. They're kind of like, they build this structure and out of these neat things called ramagons. And then they get up in front of all the other teams and they say, okay, here's our space structure. This is what it does. This is why it does this. This is who's going to live on it. How are we going to get it up there? How much is it going to cost? And they have to think about all those different aspects and figure out all those problems. And this week, the best large space structure goes to one of those teams back there. And it just happens to be Saturn. Come on up, Saturn team. Outstanding. Remarkable. Way to go. Our next team award is called the Teamwork Award, and I think each team here learned a lot about teamwork and getting along all the time. and not having any problems. And the team leader have to nominate their teams for teamwork. And yesterday, while I was trying to launch 314 rockets, but the rain beat me and I didn't quite get them all launched. So we're not going to give out a rocket launch award because not all teams got to launch the rockets, although I did launch most of them. There was one team who came out there. It was so funny. They were standing there in line, and the team leader looked at them and said, "You guys can talk, we're outside," you know, and they just sat there and were very attentive, you know, wanting crickets in their rockets, and were very, you know, this is the engine and don't touch it, and they were just so well behaved that I couldn't believe it, and they got along so well, and they were helping each other tape their fins back on if somebody make a fin fell off. Teamwork, unbelievable. So the teamwork award this week goes to the Phoenix team. Phoenix team, come on up, guys. On having outstanding teamwork. Way to go, guys. Now, since I couldn't give a rocket launch award, I decided to give 2 awards of the best mission. The mission is 1 high-pressured hour. About 6 trainees get inside Columbia and they fly into space, and the other 6 trainees are in mission control, and they have to make sure everything is working, that nothing goes wrong, that we can launch, and all of this has to be followed by a special timeline. They have a timeline they have to read, and they can't get off the clock. They have to stay with the clock. And then in the middle of all this, 2 of the astronauts have to go out and do an EVA, that's a spacewalk, and they have to go out there, and I only got a few minutes to go out and do some work on this structure out there, and they have to get back in before they get lost in space. And then in the middle of all that, there's 2 malfunctions. All of a sudden the computer says, malfunction, malfunction, you can't land at your landing site. Where are you going to land? And they have to pick the right place. If they pick the wrong place, well, then they end up landing in the wrong place. So all kinds of pressure. And all the teams did an outstanding job in mission this week, but there were 2 teams who did really well. And this week, the Best Mission Award goes to Jupiter and Mars. Come on up, Jupiter and Mars, are having Best Mission this week. Successfully going into space so well. Congratulations, guys. Best mission. Our next awards are individual awards, and the first 2 awards is called the Right Stuff Awards. And because I can't do this, my words aren't as good as this quote, so I'm going to read a quote that explains to you what this award means. The Right Stuff Award is presented to the 2 trainees in a session who have displayed by their words and deeds the characteristics of United States space explorers. Such qualities as leadership, sound decision-making, self-confidence, working with peers, striving for excellence, and seeking and sharing knowledge. Right Stuff Award recipients are young adults who have demonstrated that they are preparing today to be the space explorers of tomorrow. And our first Right Stuff Award, well, let me first say this. Each team votes by secret ballot on 1 trainee that represents these qualities on their team, so the children vote first. And then we take all the 27 names, 1 from each team, and the counselors vote to narrow it down to the top 3. And the first Right Stuff Award goes to Lindsay Yoshida from the Uranus team. Lindsay Yoshida from the Uranus team. Come on up. Our second Right Stuff Award winner goes to Orion Kingman from the TRW team. Orion Kingman from TRW. Our final award is called the Outstanding Trainee Award, and once again I'd like to read a quote. The Outstanding Trainee Award is presented to the one trainee in a session who has displayed by both word and deed the characteristics of the leaders of the United States Space Program. Such qualities as leadership, sound decision-making, self-confidence, working with peers, striving for excellence, outstanding program participation, and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Outstanding Trainee Award recipients are young adults who have demonstrated that they are preparing today to be the leaders of the space program tomorrow. And this week, the winner of the Outstanding Trainee Award goes to Tony Jane from the Lockheed team. Tony Jane. Let's give these three young adults a big round of applause. They did an outstanding job. This really concludes our graduation.
We are now ready to take our place among the space flyers, scientists, and engineers of the 21st century. We have taken our first steps in the continuing space science education program. Ahead is Space Academy Level 1 and Aviation Challenge.